Here at Going Now, we're big fans of Multiverse, if you can't already tell. And when we were asked if we wanted to help get the word out about Multiverse and the many facets of it and the many people involved, of course we jumped at the chance to do so. And in doing so, we've created this great show for you here that you're going to see. And so, what is Multiverse? Well, here is the great Jesse Adams to tell you all about it.
We are a convention for fans from all backgrounds, any fans of science fiction, fantasy, horror, gaming, art, and generally just anything geeky at all. That's been one of the fun parts, is expanding outside of like traditional fandom, and because we realize that like people have different kind of stuff they nerd out about, right? It could be history or science or fountain pens, whatever it is. The common thread is that there's a strong interest in something that you want to share with people. So that's the point of conventions in my book, but also Multiverse in particular, is let everybody get together in an environment where everybody feels welcomed and included, like genuinely included. And it happens every October, third weekend of every October. This year it's October 20th through 22nd. In Atlanta, which I figure most people know, at the Westin Atlanta Perimeter North. All the stuff's at multiversecon.org.
For this episode, we welcome in Crimson Heart, who is a multi-genre author from horror, urban fantasy, and romance. Her years of experience at Boston's oldest psychic salon doing readings and her encounters with the supernatural have inspired many novels. Then we welcome Nicole Givens-Kurtz. Nicole is the science fiction track director at Multiverse. She's been called a genre polymath who does crime, horror, and science fiction. We'll talk to her all about her track and her writing. Then we volunteer to tell you all about the opportunities you might have, even if you're not a guest or a vendor, to come to Multiverse. So get ready for another great spotlight on the Multiverse Convention with your host, Joe Compton. Hello, everybody. Yes, I am Joe Compton, and welcome to the Spotlight on Multiverse. As you can see, my first guest is with me here, Miss Crimson Heart. I did a little intro for you, but if you want to tell everybody a little bit more about yourself, I'm happy to let you do that.
Sure. Hey, Joe. Thank you so much for having me. I do appreciate it. My name is Crimson Heart. Obviously, it's a pseudonym because, yeah.
It's really,
Heart.
I love the way it's spelled, by the way. That's cool.
Thank you. Heart is actually my real last name. So we had to find something to go with Crimson because Raven was already taken.
Nice.
But yeah, so I have been writing for probably 20 years, probably longer than that, but I've been published for 20 years. I have a lot of books under my belt. I've been with a lot of publishers over the years. A lot of my ideas come from my dealings with the paranormal and working at a psychic salon when I was in college. And now by day, I work in commercial insurance, and by night, I'm the awesome author that you see before you know.
Nice. That's awesome. We do have some folks here with us. Anita is here with us. Vanessa's here. She says hello. She said she's grabbing some tea, then she'll be back, and looks like she's back. So huzzah. Thank you, Vanessa. Nice to see you both here. This is going to be your first Multiverse. How exciting is that? That's pretty amazing.
It is. It's awesome. I'm very much looking forward to it. Yeah, I can't wait to see all the other guests and meet people and get down to Atlanta, which is not something I do all the time. So it'll be awesome.
What have you heard about Multiverse, or what made you apply?
Nicole. Nicole and Misty Massey. I have some friends that have been to Multiverse, and of course, Nicole, is the track director, one of the track directors. So she's like, "You got to apply," and I'm like, "Yeah, next year." So finally, I applied. All the pressure. Plus, she's also one of my publishers, so she's like, putting the hammer down. Got to do it. So I did.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. We're going to be excited to see you. I'll be happy to meet you and talk to you in person. That'll be a lot of fun. Let's see. Vanessa has something. Nicole is such a troublemaker. She says the best kind of trouble.
Yes, she is the best kind of troublemaker, especially on Thursdays when we have our writing group, and she usually is there. So
I was gonna say, one of the things that is really coveted at Multiverse is new blood, basically. People bringing new people in there and stuff like that. Because I think the unique experience of Multiverse is something for for somebody to really try out and figure out if it's for them. And then once you figure that out, which is pretty quickly, you'll figure out that you love it. And once you do that, you'll never want to not go to anywhere else. That's the beauty of it. So
That's
I
awesome.
think you made a wise choice in applying, for sure.
Well, I definitely am glad that I did.
Yeah. Are you hoping to experience some panels? Have you done panels before and things like that?
Yeah, I've done panels at other conventions. I've gone to Con Carolinas. I've done some did Mid South Con, once. We did
Mhm.
some Fandom Fest, and over the years, I've kind of been to different conventions. So I've done a few panels. Yeah.
Do you stay kind of in the horror lane a little bit, or do you like? I mean, I know that Nicole does science fiction primarily. That's what the track is. She runs, and then there's fantasy and horror. I would assume, though, from reading about you and reading the blurbs of your books and a couple pages out of Forest of Bones, that you are uh, pretty stuck into the horror aspect of things. Is that fair to say?
It's kind of gone back and forth. So when I
Okay.
first started writing, it was definitely more on the horror side. And then the first series I wrote got put into the romance genre, which kind of like still strikes me funny because it's not. And then I had, I got really good friends with the publisher at the time, and she's like, "Oh, you should try writing this." So I wrote a whole bunch of romance novels over the years because I was making some money from them, and that was awesome. And then markets changed and publishers changed, so I've
Sure.
kind of gone back to more of my roots, which is dark fantasy and horror. So I'm gearing more towards that and writing what I want instead of writing for the market.
Yeah, I think that's a common misconception, right? That Gothic has to be. I mean, Gothic, it by its nature is dark, but it doesn't have to be within the horror genre for the most
Right.
part. You can do urban fantasy Gothic. You can even do romance Gothic. I mean, let's
Yeah.
let's be honest. Edward Scissorhands, that's probably one of the biggest Gothic romances of all time.
Right. Right.
Something like that. So it doesn't pigeonhole you in that aspect, right? Do you feel like that's the case? You can roam around and try different genres.
Yeah, I definitely like to roam around and try different things. A lot of my books tend to have like the Grim Reaper in them. And so within the universe that I've created, death is transient. So, because death happens
Nice.
everywhere. So, the different Reapers can hop around to different universes and talk to each other, even though they're in different books and different genres because, they're death.
Nice. Yeah,
So,
Vanessa wants to mention that we're like the Hotel California of conventions.
that's awesome.
you know, um, what have been some of your favorite panels to do over the years? I'm trying to get. I'm letting you audition here so that because all the track
Okay.
directors will watch this eventually, and obviously we have one coming on next as well, who knows you very well
Yes.
and is
Yes.
your publisher. So I'm sure she's going to rope you into some science fiction stuff. But what are some of the panels that you've enjoyed doing over like at Con Carolinas and the past cons you've done?
I like doing, the horror panels. um, I'm not really a big like I've written some sci-fi stuff, but I'm
Mhm.
not like hardcore sci-fi, so I don't know a lot about it. It's just more like aliens having sex and with different appendages. Um, so uh, yeah, so usually I romance, of course, because I've been on writing romance for a long time. So I've kind of done all the erotica stuff and horror versus erotica. But I like some fandom stuff too. I'm a huge
Mhm.
supernatural fan, and you know I like vampires in general. So usually vampires, I don't care what genre they fall in. Um, and just certain TV shows and movies and just stuff like that, paranormal, some kind of all over the place. Just, yeah.
Yeah, Vanessa says tentacles are a mainstay of multiverse.
Yeah, tentacles can be fun.
Has there been one panel that has stuck out to you over the years that you go, wow, I was super glad I was part of that panel?
Gosh, I remember doing one panel at Con Carolina's. It was an erotica panel, and at the time there was several of us that had banded together, and we were doing this big giveaway. So we had a lady in the audience who we were friends with. She was kind of helping us. So we had this big basket, and it had all types of different sexual favors and trinkets, and big penis-shaped things, and that we were giving away, and it was just fun. It was just a lot of fun. So audience participation is always great.
Yeah. And that's something about multiverse that I think is paramount. And one of the great things about it that's a little different is like, you're not so much going into a panel to lecture. You're not, there's very little of this, they have a learned track, and that's usually where the lectures happen. But even in that aspect, there's a lot of social interaction amongst the crowd, and usually the audience becomes part of the panel there. So I think that's one of the cool things about multiverse that I really, really think is unique to it.
That's awesome. And I can't wait to experience that because it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear myself droning on and on and on because no one wants to listen to me, in my opinion, but that's just me.
I have the same philosophy as well about, because, I've been on panels where people have droned on and on and on, and those aren't as fun as just, being sharp and quick and trying to get in and get a point in and get out. Right. So,
yeah, I'm quiet by nature, so it's very hard for me to talk over people in general. So sometimes, like, I've sat through panels and like talked to like 2 minutes and just sat back and watch other people talk, and I'm like, okay, what's the point of me being here?
Yeah, that's why I make a good moderator. I just ask the question and let the panel go far. Just throwing that out there, Vanessa. I mean, you already know I'm a good moderator, so Vanessa, so I don't need to audition for you, but I'm just saying. Anyway, I want to talk about you and your writing. So, you have an interesting background, and so how much of that do you lean on naturally in your writing, and how much of what you write have you had to kind of delve into further? Have you had to do a lot of research with the stuff with the kind of subject matter you write, or have you leaned a lot on your background?
It kind of depends because obviously I don't know a real life werewolf.
Yeah. Or a vampire. Hopefully.
Or vampires. The paranormal stuff, I've had some dark stuff happen to me over the years, so I've kind of incorporated that into my writing. Some of the research I've done on certain types of vampires, of course, like historical stuff, they get in there, but a lot of what I write is based on personal experiences or trying to figure out how to write about what I experience, because sometimes it's just hard to find the words for it.
So do you stay in kind of the urban settings then, kind of present day?
Yeah, pretty much present day. Of course I do fantasy, castles and fairies, but I find it hard to write a lot of like sword and sorcery, as I call it, because I just don't vibe well with it. Of course I can write it. I just, can't do it. It's very difficult for me.
I'm curious, working for like a psychic center, what do you feel like is the biggest misconception that you always have to overcome when people walk in there?
Well, the biggest misconception is people think, oh, well, you're going to tell me the lottery numbers, right? Or you're going to tell me your husband's cheating on me, right? Or like, who am I going to date? I'm like, it doesn't work that way. The tea room that I worked at, it was set up, you walked in, it was kind of set up like a restaurant. You had a menu that you could choose from, and there were pictures on the wall of the psychics, and you literally like chose your psychic if you were just walking in and you didn't have an appointment. And then you picked what kind of reading you wanted. So if you didn't connect, with the person, then, we would either recommend you go see someone else if they were open, or they give you your money back. It wasn't like, your 800 number or 900 numbers and you're being charged by the minute either way. So the biggest misconception is everyone thinks that you're frauds. So,
Mm-hmm.
usually if someone would come in and sit down with me, I'd sit there. If they get a tarot reading, for example, I'd, have them shuffle the cards, and then I take the cards, and for 20 minutes, I'd start talking to them and answer the questions that they had and start telling them what I was getting. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'd flip over the cards because, it's what they paid for. And then everything I had already told them was already in the cards. So without knowing them, I was telling them these things. So, yeah.
How much I mean, so a lot of what you do with that aspect of things is a lot about energy and a lot about feeling the energy and absorbing the energy. Do you find that that's part of your writing process as well? Do you find there's an energy you have to capture with a character or a setting or something like that that you grasp onto, that you lean onto your training and your and who you are, that helps you round out the character and the story you're telling?
Yeah, for some of them, certainly. I have this one character I've been struggling with for like 10 years. It's one of those books that just like, you peg away at a little bit at a time. But he's like a really dark, like, necrophiliac serial killer.
Oof.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and so eventually I'll get the book done, but it's taking me a lot longer. But yeah, of course, I have to have a certain energy to be in that mindset to
Hmm.
channel him. Yeah.
So tell everybody a little bit about. I mean, you were telling Nicole off camera that you're about to hand her a couple more books to go to publish
Yeah.
and or look at, and I was just curious. You know, tell us a little bit about that series and tell us what it's about and what we can expect. Don't obviously don't spoil anything for us, but just give
No,
us
of
a
course
little
not.
taste.
Sure.
Give us a little taste of what's to come.
Sure. So the first book is already out. It's called Forest of Bones, and it is a dark fantasy horror novel about a hybrid vampire and magician. And in this world, vampires have no magic, so she's unique. And because of her uniqueness, an ancient evil is attracted to her and wants to use her to break out of the underworld, basically, and like take over the world. So she has to figure out a way not to do that. Um, so that's Forest of Bones. And the second book it's tied in. It's loosely related. Right now, it's called Mist and Bone, and it is about a healer who has had her name stolen. So, and it's been stolen by like a dark fairy, and so they're entwined more than she would like to admit. And there's she has a magical book that's been passed down through her bloodline, and there are other books involved, and evil deities that want the book for their certain reasons. So that's kind of book two. And book three it doesn't have a name yet, but it is roughly about a woman who was from an ancient bloodline that traces back to a sisterhood of vampires that became changed and became vampires. So they need to get her kind of back into the fold, so hell on earth doesn't happen.
Gosh, yeah. I think you just sold some books here. Liam is here. Hi, Liam. Nice to see you, my friend. The Greek hero
Hello.
tentacles, and then Jesse. I think that's Jesse. Probably Jesse. Maybe it's
Hello.
Alan. I don't know. Maybe. You never know. But and then mentions tentacles, and there are mics, and you have me at Dark Fairy. So there you go. Right. I'm down for this series, says Vanessa. So. That's
Very cool.
awesome. So yeah, hey, we done some good. I'll tell you this: the cover is gorgeous, absolutely
Yes.
gorgeous. It
Yeah.
it reminds me of like a almost like a French expressionist painting in a lot of ways. There's a lot of nice little splatters in there and some really nice color in there. I love the cover.
Yes, the cover for Forest of Bones is amazing, and we have artwork lined up by the same artist for the second book. We just have to figure out which one we're going to go with. So yeah, so we'll
Yeah.
see. And it's just as striking too. yeah.
Are you? Is there something like a genre or something that you haven't tackled? That I mean, obviously you have this one serial killer that you're trying to find a place for, obviously character wise. But is there a story that you haven't told yet that you're kind of looking at, or a genre you're looking at that you'd like to play in that you haven't had the opportunity to do so yet?
I've written a paranormal cozy mystery,
Oh
which
yes.
was yes, which was completely kind of off the wall. And that one is more like women's fiction, so it's kind of like it has my own brand of like really dry humor in it.
Mm,
Um, and it's about a witch in her mid 40s that is having hot flashes that turn out to be magic, and everything is exploding around her because her magic is coming on, and that's the way it happens in the universe. All the witches are like middle aged,
yeah.
and so that one is kind of new, and I'm contemplating a second one. I'm trying to find a publisher for that one. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I mean, I would never write like true crime because that's just any nonfiction is just not me. Um, One I haven't really tackled yet. I don't really do a lot of like hard sci-fi just
Hmm.
because I'm not really, that's not me, or steampunk either. I just don't know enough about
Are
it.
there
And it
things
doesn't
you're
really,
interested in though?
I like steampunk stuff.
Hmm.
I'm just, it's not my wheelhouse. I don't know a lot about it. So I couldn't really tell you, who was the best at writing it or not.
So, I mean, when you when you look at um, constructing the paranormal aspects of what you write, and kind of as here, it's so aptly stated. I love a series that takes paranormal characters and makes them deal with human problems. You know, uh, and then here you go. Hard sci-fi is hard.
Yes.
It's hard. Yes. And yeah, I don't do hard sci-fi at all. My hubby reads that.
Hey, my husband doesn't read it all.
He doesn't read your stuff?
No, no, I'm lucky if he reads two
Probably
books a
better
year.
off. I was thinking about, as far as urban settings go and paranormal stuff. Are you tapping into a lot of what what exists, or are you going further beyond that? Do you like to kind of stretch the paranormal aspect of it, or do you kind of like to stay within the mythological aspects of what is, I don't want to say tropey or, a cliche to a certain extent, but are you someone who likes to branch out and kind of change a little history, or change a little about what we know?
I'm not. I kind of go with what I feel, to be honest. I mean, some of it
Hmm.
might be tropey, and some of it might just be my own personal opinion on how I think things are, like multiverses or, you know, reincarnation or UFOs or whatever, and whether that's stretching it, I'm not sure because everyone has their own experiences,
Mm.
and to say that my experience is in your experience is not valid is like you can't say that. And you're spinning. Oh no. Hello.
I'm spinning.
Oh yeah, you were you froze for a second.
Oh, no, I was, sorry. That's probably just me listening.
Oh,
The comments are going crazy here. Steampunk is fun to write. I love hard sci-fi. I propose a new crossover genre: steamy punk romance erotica with airships. There you go.
well, it all depends on like what
And
appendages
strange
the
tales are
airships
my.
have.
And what are they using those appendages for? Right? I mean,
Right, right.
that's
If the airship's alive,
yeah, strange tales are my wheelhouse apparently. Scream punk, there you go, there's a good name for it. Love a good strange tale, Rob. The more unclassifiable the better. Is
yeah.
steampunk a thing? What about air punk and water punk?
Hey, that's something I have no idea, but it sounds cool. Waterpunk Waterworld. Would that be Kevin Costner of Water? Yeah, maybe.
Something about like horror authors and fantasy authors, and this is something that I think you would be really good to talk about the aspect of a lot of writers get uncomfortable around the love scenes and the graphic nature of love sometimes, and that. Uh, and I'm guessing it doesn't really bother you all that much, that you can pretty much put that into anything you want to work on. What's a tip you would give someone who does struggle with that aspect of their writing?
You need to be true to the characters. So if you're writing a werewolf, like have him be a werewolf. If you're writing a dragon, have him be a dragon. So I wrote a series of werewolf romance shifters and fairies, and in the first book, the hero werewolf, like at the time, like he eats humans. They eat humans, and he ends up eating his girlfriend's like fiance at the time. And of course, later on, you find out that why and everything. But anyways, so I mean, and he hates that he's had to eat humans, but it's part of his nature. Or a dragon shifter romance, like when they bond or whatever as mates, like they bite each other and they eat raw meat because that's part of who they are. Vampires, like it's not all sparkly, they bite each other and scratch each other, and just because that's, you have that bestial animalistic side of you, and if you don't give into it, what's the point of all roses and flowers? And then that's fine for people. I'm not knocking that. Because sometimes you just need like the popcorn books that you can just read and keep going. I don't read a lot of romance, even though I've written a lot of it, because I prefer the horror and the darker fantasy. So that's me. But yeah, definitely stay true to your character. And if you don't want to write the full scene, well, that's fine. I mean, you don't have to write them tearing their clothes off and like going at it like 50 million times for 20 pages. Just write what you want.
Nice. The chat's talking about Chuck Tingle. I'm going to just ignore all of that right now.
I'm not as bad as Chuck Tingle, I promise. Although some of the names of my books might say that. But they actually have a plot.
Yeah. I'm curious, was then writing the cozy kind of an interesting exercise for you? Because obviously you can't be as graphic as you want to be in a cozy, because that's part of the nature of a cozy, right? So
right, yeah, it was definitely an experiment. It was more of trying to write the characters and the mystery than like not having a romance like aspect, but still having like a little bit of gore, but nothing too bad. So yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, and the whole like Chuck Tingle thing, like if you look at some of like my alien vampire romances, like I'm totally making fun of the genre tropes, because why not after doing it for 20 years? I mean, I've written books like Harry and Hung and Cosmic Shifts and, Come and Yeti, and I can name off a whole bunch more, because, a billionaire werewolf ate my fiance, because it's fun.
Yeah, Vanessa says, I'll put this up here for anybody who is still on the fence about going to Multiverse. I think this would knock you over the edge. And that is, the play track, the game track is going to be having a Chuck Tingle RPG this year. LOL. I think she's half joking. and then Jesse says, Chuck Tingle retweeted us last year, and I'll never stop talking about it.
That's awesome. Yes, keep going with that one. Mm-hmm.
I moving, so you've been writing for a long time in your life. How much? Oh, she says she's not joking at all. Okay. That's scary, but all right. But you've been writing a long time, and I'm kind of curious, has it gotten easier for you? Have you developed a routine? Are you still looking for that routine? Does it change? Does it evolve? How do you view your writing looking back on it from 20 years ago to now?
It's definitely changed. I used to be able to write a whole lot more than I do now. I could probably write like...
Damn adulting.
Yeah, I mean, I could write like 5 or 6 books a year. And I mean, some of them were long and some of them were like, 20, 30,000 words. And now I'm lucky if I can like write 2 or 3 And a lot of that is just because my attention span has kind of shortened. And it's, I mean, I have just the dog and my husband and my day job. So I have the time. I just find that, I have other things to do. and,
Yeah.
and that's not like, it's just how I am, so I'm not constantly focused on writing. So I'm happy to write. I'm happy to edit. I definitely know where my strengths and weaknesses are writing. So it takes me forever to self-edit a book. But again, I'm not writing like I was. I'm not writing 100,000 word novel and then chopping out like 35, 40,000 words in my first edit, because everything is like this and has that, and all of the words and comparisons you're not supposed to make when you're starting out. So it's definitely changed.
Yeah, that's the beauty of being an independent writer, right? You can go at your own pace. You can do what you need to do and kind of figure it out as it go along. But it sounds like you got 3 books in the pipe. You got the second and the third one of the Bones series, and then you got this cozy that may or may not go out there. I don't want to get anybody excited.
No, I don't know. I'm talking to people. I haven't heard back anything specific, so it's we'll see.
I mean, that's more than I've written in the last 3 years. I always joke that I'm like the Olympics. I write a book every 4 years. So,
hey, nothing wrong with that.
They say we love indie writers. Yes, we do. Yes,
indie writers rule.
Well, Crimson, it was an absolute pleasure to get to meet you, talk to you. And get to pick your brain a little bit about your books. When you got the second or third book coming out, you should come back and talk to us some more. I'd love to talk to you and get more in depth with the books and the characters. And of course, I look forward to meeting you in person in October and seeing you at Multiverse. I'm sure you're going to have probably one of the best times you've ever had at a con.
I'm sure I will. And thank you so much for having me, Joe. It was awesome, being here and chatting with you and, saying hello to everyone in the virtual audience. And of course, I'm sure Nicole will drag me everywhere with her when we're down there and, show me off. Bright and shiny, polish me up.
I'm sure. The beauty about Multiverse though, is that it's very cozy. It's very intimate. And so we're all together all the time, most of the time there. So I don't think she has to drag you very far.
Probably not. I mean, I know some of the other guests going, so we'll all be like, if not, we'll all be huddled in our little ball and being like, hello.
Yeah. Jesse says, thank you, Crimson. See you in October.
Yes,
says Vanessa, looking forward to seeing you at Multiverse. And then, thank you. That's very nice of you. All right. Well, we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna play a little something that I think if you are at Multiverse or thinking about Multiverse, there is a nice little contest that you might want to think about participating in, and it's still open for submissions right now. So go after you see this. Don't leave yet, because we do have Nicole Gibbons' curse coming up, and if you don't stay for that, you're not going to stay for anything, because Nicole is amazing. And
yes,
she's just super awesome. So we're super excited to have her on the show and talk to her, as we were having Crimson Heart on the show as well, because that was an awesome conversation. But let's play the little video here as I awkwardly bow out, and we'll be right back with Nicole Gibbons' curse, everybody.
You write cool stories? Share them with the rest of the multiverse. The 2023 sponsored Ink Publishing is holding a short story contest with prizes, and the winner will be announced at the 2023 convention in October. The story should fall within speculative fiction genre, such as sci-fi, horror, or fantasy. We encourage you to weave an engaging story with well-developed characters and deep emotion. Submissions are open to all Multiversians who have attended the Multiverse Con or intend to attend. The guidelines are available on Ink Publishing's website, so make sure that you read the rules. The submission period goes until September 15th. It's one per author. Reprints totally acceptable. This is just for fun. Submission cost is free, and the word limit is 2,000 to 8,000 words. It's an anonymous submission with no author name or email in the document. The sole winner will receive a $100 American Express gift card, 3 signed books from our guests attending Multiverse in 2023. The winner will be invited to join the Inked Pub panel after the announcement. The winner and all finalists might be offered placement in an upcoming Inked Pub anthology if the themes align with their stories. It's because a story that's been itching in your brain or tantalizing your fingers. Or you had one in the pipeline that you've wanted to see recirculate, and you plan on attending Multiverse, now's the time to do so. And go check out Inked Publishing for the latest in their anthology work. Good luck. May the writing be with you.
Yes, everybody go check that out. If you're a short story writer, I don't know why you wouldn't do that. It's awesome. It's an opportunity to get out there again. So definitely check that out. And I'm just gonna warn you ahead of time, Nicole. The chat is a little feisty tonight, so and I'm sure the two of us we're definitely going to spark some conversation. So yeah, look, it's already started. Nicole!
Hi, chat.
I gave you a little intro, but I can never come even remotely close to all the accolades and all the awesomeness that you are. I mean, you are you're an amazing author, writer, creator, publisher. I mean, you do so much, Nicole. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay. I'm a publisher. I own Mocha Memoirs Press, and this is our 13th year. And our mission for those 13 years and going forward is to continue to amplify marginalized voices in speculative fiction. That's kind of what we do, and we've been doing it a while. Publishing tends to be very what's popular. People seem to like the same thing, or they think they do because they aren't giving anything different to try. It's like it's Wednesday night, it's meatloaf night. Here you go, and
Yeah.
they get to try, sushi on Wednesday night because it's always meatloaf night. And the publishing industry is very much like that. Traditional publishing tends to be, or mainstream publishing, or big publishing. So what my little press does is we add okay, it's a Wednesday night, and you guys usually have meatloaf, but we're gonna put some Frank Red Hot on it, or we're gonna try, some sriracha. We're gonna try something different to provide. I think you're talking about spicy. We're gonna just give you a different voice and different voices and different stories that you may not otherwise hear in other places. So that's what we do. I'm also an author myself and have been for 20 years. Um, and so I tend to write cyberpunk noir. I write fantasy noir. I write horror. I do a great deal of horror and weird westerns. So those are pretty much my big subject areas or genre areas. Um, I am the guest of honor at Retcon. I'm supposed to tell people that.
Nice.
I always forget.
Yeah.
So new to me. But I'll be the guest of honor at Retcon in 2024. And so I'm a member of SIFWA and HWA. But most importantly, I like reading stories. So I am also the sci-fi geek track director at Multiverse. So
Yes. And
that is
Vanessa
one of
says,
the most fun and fulfilling things I get to do.
absolutely, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But the meatloaf sushi analogy is spot on, according to Vanessa. I mean, if I see us, what? If I see yes,
I feel like Vanessa's middle name is Spicy, but
yeah. They had a nice little back and forth about Chuck Tingle. I don't know if you saw that.
I
But
did see that. Thank you.
So the sci-fi track, kind of give us an idea of how it's evolved over the last couple of years that you've been doing it, and what we can expect for this year's Multiverse.
One of the things I love about the sci-fi track at Multiverse is that it offers panels that are not just, it does have panels that are kind of surface panels or fandom you find
Hmm.
at any convention, but there are also panels that are kind of deep, that you won't find at most other conventions. And so that allows for richer conversations, about particular fandom. And we also offer panels that I haven't seen anywhere else. And I do a great deal but as far as evolving, I think initially I came in right. I think my first year was the unpleasantness year, where it was
Virtual
everything was
year or
virtual,
the?
and so we couldn't go see each other in person. So that was kind of odd. That was different for me. But one of my favorites that year was like the Saturday morning cartoon conversation, because there were a lot of sci-fi fantasy cartoons on Saturday morning if you were a kid in the 80s.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like talking about the nostalgia of that, what we learned from that, what those morning shows evolved to or allowed to happen later in terms of like cartoons, because they had laid that foundation. So that was fun. But we continue to try to offer multiverse guests, um, a diverse perspective on fandom. We offer them, um, again, a deep, richer conversation around fandom that they may not get at a different convention.
Mhm. One of the things about science fiction that is very interesting is the aspect of the fandom being so rabid, right? They really have a
Hmm.
real grasp on who they want to support and what they want to support and how they want to do it. And sometimes that could be very toxic and very,
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah, and that environment kind of doesn't enrich science fiction as much as it should. As science fiction should be enriched, and I'm kind of curious from your perspective, how much do you program to talk about that aspect of it? Is that something that you look at talking about, or do you want to just concentrate on, you know, exploring the other side of that conversation, which is that there is a deep diversity and there is a deep richness about science fiction that people may not or may not have experienced or may not want to acknowledge.
So if you don't want to acknowledge that there's diverse voices in various fandoms, this convention may not be the one for you.
Yeah,
Because uh, other voices and diversity and inclusiveness is in the marrow of multiverse. So if you're one of those people who are thinking, I like Star Wars when everyone was either alien or white, this may not be the con for you, right? But for my panels, we do both, right? I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. If we're going to have deep conversations about a particular fandom or a particular show, we have to take what's wonderful about it in concert with what's not wonderful about it, what's
yeah,
missing, right? And so we have those conversations, and they are, that's what we have really great moderators for, to make sure that those panels don't spiral in the wrong direction. And so we tend to have really great moderators, but the questions are framed, or the topics or the panels are framed so that you can have those conversations in a safe space, but also make them deep and make them as rich as you want them to go. I'm usually in the room, so I'm like the overseer. So make sure you're on. But again, we don't have those types of we haven't, knock on wood, had anyone not participate in panels that was on the toxic edge of fandom. I'm telling you, multiverse A doesn't allow that, and B, we don't attract that. And our convention, people know that multiverse is about positivity and inclusiveness and fandom. If that's not your bag, they people kind of know that that's not the con for us. I know some cons they can go to, but I won't say out loud.
Yeah, and I think yeah, you have to read the code of conduct. The code of conduct is very important in that aspect of it, and make
Hmm.
sure that you're following it because multiverse doesn't. We won't put up with that in our con, right? I mean, that's just
Right.
kind of how it's going to go, right?
No. And again, not all
And
kinds are deep and rich. Some of them are just fun, like our
yeah,
our alien autopsy game that we do Saturday night. It's just fun. And so we have panels that are just a good time, and where we
yeah,
can show our love for a particular fandom together. And then we have more that are kind of serious and dig deep and
Yeah, Jesse said, "You said it, Nicole." And then the topics people shy away from are often the topics we really need to talk about, and talking
right, and
about
we
them,
do. Hmm.
requires respect and courtesy on all sides.
Absolutely, we don't. Yeah, Vanessa knows.
Yeah. Okay, so you can't have. I don't think you can have a science fiction track without talking about the big topic that is going on right now. I mean, it has stopped Hollywood for the most part, and that is the AI conversation. Is that something you're looking at? Have you looked at ways to approach that, and maybe some different ways to talk about it a little bit?
Okay, AI is not. It's machine learning, but I think I have a panel planned for it to have a conversation around it. But
Mhm.
because it's a writing track thing, I'm not sure. I think I have it as a possibility, but
Mhm.
only in the sense that the AI part of it is more of a writer's conversation, and the sci-fi track doesn't have any writers writing panels. We're all like about fandom, and
Yeah.
so they see a conversation about AI in the writer's track. Looking at you, Vanessa.
Well, I was just
But
thinking because
as a writer,
Mhm.
I'm well aware of the conversation around machine learning,
Mhm.
and about um, uh, what it can do and what it can't do, what it's been purported to do and what it actually does
Mhm.
there. Yeah, it's a very complex thing. I don't think it has to be.
Well,
Um,
I do think that there is some fandom though, like Terminator fandom,
mhm. Oh yeah,
and
yeah. In that regard, yeah, I'm not reading
and
things
in
about.
2001, kind of, Kubrick-esque kind of fandoms that
Right.
would touch on that subject matter and those ideas.
I think I would if I thought that what we're dealing with now is actually AI and not glorified,
Fiction.
predicate text, right? I just so after
Right now,
using it
at
a few
least
times, it
hopefully it stays
realizes,
that
like
way.
Siri, that you actually don't mean ducking.
Yeah.
You mean the other word. So I wish I could get behind it, but I might. It might be a possibility. You may see an AI, the rise of the machines
Mm.
creatively.
Vanessa's got a suggestion here. She says, "But science fiction could do a panel about what AI
Yeah,
could
we
do for the
could.
future of the world, or even the history of AI in science fiction and how that is or
Is
isn't
now
accurate."
it's not like what we got now.
Yeah.
We're doing the chores and the AI's doing the creativeness, right? They're doing the picture, the art, and the writing, and we're actually doing the labor. It's more matrix than it is.
What's one panel that you had on the track that you weren't necessarily 100% sold on or sure of that has now won you over and decided that it needs to be a part of what you do every year?
Alien autopsy. Despite being a school teacher for 20 years, I'm not a big fan of games. And so
Okay.
one year I was like, so one of the I was told I should probably consider, because multiverse never tells you what to do. It's always, you might want to consider having a game. And I was like, I don't really like games. So um but as a track director, it's not really about me. So I thought, okay, people might like games. And I kind of thought about some games I'd seen at other cons and who ran them. And so I was like, ooh, I really like this game. And it was Alien Autopsy. And I didn't participate. I love watching it though. It's a glorified version of Whose Line It Is Anyway, but with items.
Yeah.
Here are these items on this ship. This is the alien body parts, or what are these things? What are these artifacts that we've got from this alien crash? And so it's hilarious to watch. And it was a lot of fun last year, so I feel like it's going to be a mainstay on the sci-fi track.
I have to get over there one of these times and do that,
Yes, it's so much
or at
fun. Oh
least
my gosh.
experience it. I
Our
because
writers are so creative, and Miss does a really wonderful job of leading them in the improv. It's so much fun. It's really great.
I love improv. I haven't done improv in a while. I need to get back
You
on
should
that.
come through. We'll be one of the scientists that we're collaborating with to do, understand what's in this alien ship that crash landed in our hotel in Atlanta? Uh,
Do you have the actual props, or is it just
no,
kind
we
of
do, we do. Misty has all the
okay?
props,
That's
and
awesome.
it changes every year. So yeah, it's gonna be a
That's
blast.
awesome. So let's talk about you a little bit and what you. I mean, you've just accomplished something amazing. You've put out for the most part a series. I mean, they're smaller
Mhm.
books, but it is a series, and I'm wondering, as somebody who's written so many things and written so many books and stories and stuff like that, what was unique about this series for you? Because it feels like, if it feels like just from the fringes and hearing you talk about it at Con Carolinas that this was really a passion project for you.
Oh yeah. So I've never done a rapid release before, which is having the series done before I release book one. So that was new for me. Um, but what I really like about Fawn and Briscoe is that originally when I started writing them, it was for me.
Hmm.
I have written the Sybil Lewis series for 20 years now. And Sybil is a PI and a detective. Think Blade Runner or Altered Carbon, but with a black female lead. And
Hmm.
so she's a PI. She's very hardened. She's it's very noir, right? And one of the things I love about noir is that for me is I get to be subversive, right?
Hmm.
Because all the things that noir, traditional noir is, we're kind of not, right? It's a
Hmm. Yeah.
female lead. There's no femme fatale, right? There's no so all the things that I kind of flip all those tropes on their head because it's set in the future in a post-apocalyptic city. And so it's very, very different than your traditional noir. But that notwithstanding, I'd written Sybil for like three novels. There's a four novels. There's a fourth that's in edits now, and several short stories and a few novellas. But she always picks on the regulators as being incompetent. She's like, I don't take regulator ruin cases, and so I was like, it would be fun, right, to see what the regulators do. And so I started writing Fawn and Briscoe as short stories, actually, about basically they're detectives
Yeah.
but they're detectives for the district and what it's like for them on the other side of that having to resolve violations and find violators. So that was really fun, but also because of the nature of the job, you can either become hardened like Sybil and you don't trust anyone, or you break, which is what has happened to Fawn. She has PTSD as a result of her job, and so here she suffers from PTSD, but she still loves to work. And so when you see her in Glitches and Stitches, she's like, I can't do this work anymore. She's like
Hmm.
Michael Douglas and falling down. I'm done. Right. She's done. This is the last case because she can't she mentally she just cannot do it anymore. And
She's
so
going full Roger Murtaugh on us.
yes. But the nature of her PTSD and her mental health also makes it not always great to do her job. And so sometimes she isn't as you see Sybil, and Sybil is almost always flawless,
Hmm.
except when she's not. But mentally, she's always, on top of her game. She has to be, or else she gets killed. Right? She's
Yeah.
alone. Well, aside from Jane, she's pretty much they're out. They're not. They don't have the technology and the support of the district regulators like Fawn and Briscoe do. And so, but for Fawn, it's a much more difficult thing, and
Hmm.
the work is harder. It's like I said, you either harden or you break, and
Hmm.
she's broken. And so that's kind of one of the things that attracted me to Fawn. And it's one reason why I really like her. It's also why her name is Fawn. Um, and Briscoe's just Briscoe. Yeah, he's a seasoned cop. He's got a loving husband. He's that is a doctor. So he has what I consider to be quote a normal life
Mhm.
for right. He's got a partner who understands the job. He goes home. He has a. It's fine. She doesn't have that.
Mhm.
She has him, and that's all she has. And so their relationships, as much as I love writing about, okay, they found a corpse and here's what happened, or the horrible thing robots do, because you can't trust robots. Sybil doesn't trust robots, and neither does the Spawn, because they're bots,
See,
and they
you're touching the AI stuff already.
you don't trust bots. Yeah, really, I'm touching the AI. Um, but so for me personally, that series is a passion project. A, because they weren't supposed to be published ever, and B, it gave me an opportunity to play in that world on a different perspective than I had before, and that was really fun.
JD says he's Team Sybil and Fawn. Hi, JD. Nice to see you. Liam made some comments earlier about AI. If AI is a fairly simple thing that has been way blown up, and he, for one, welcomes the new AI
AI
overlords.
overlords. Only if they actually could create something, but it's not. There's no intelligence at all. They're not creating anything new. It's just a computer program that's rearranging what you gave it or what someone else gave it. There's no original thought. So it's
He
all
said,
like advanced machine learning.
he said it was a good panel to be on last year.
I did have that panel last year. See, the panel I had was on
See,
AI was the previous year.
see, you're trying to dance around it, but I know I knew there was something in
So
that
if you
track.
see it on the program, it's going to
Yeah,
be Joe's fault, right? The AI is on the sci-fi track.
yeah. You know, JD actually has a question for you. He says,
Mhm.
how's it feel to have pivoted from not having plans to publish and bringing it all to life?"
It's my baby, right? So, I mean, they're
Yeah.
all my children. So, all my books and stories, they're all my children. I am very protective of them. After edits, because I know that they have to go through that growing stage. But it feels weird, in a way, because those stories were deeply personal in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see them out there and other people reading them, and people saying I'm glad people like them, but it is a bit like, okay, you get to see my personal diary. 'Cause,
Mm-hmm.
like, Sybil is Sybil, and she'll always be. I'm telling you, I tell people all the time, I'll be in a retirement home going, I got this Sybil Lewis story that I talked into this thing here. Can you type it out for me? That'll be me. But Fawn Briscoe and their trilogy, uh, seems very personal to me. It is. It feels like someone read my diary or something.
I'm curious about the rapid release aspect of this. You
Mhm,
said this is your first foray, or you wanted to
mhm.
try to do this, and did you learn something about yourself that you didn't expect that came through this process? Did you feel like there was something different about how you wrote and published in this process?
Well, it took me a long time to write. So I never rush writing. That's why I'm a slow writer. People are like, I'm still waiting for the force of a book. I know. I'm a slow writer. And as a publisher, it's the same thing. I rather when author's like, oh, I know I'm supposed to have it turned in by X date.
Hmm.
I'd rather have a good story, your best story, than hitting a certain deadline.
Hmm.
Is it right? And so for the rapid release ones, they were all short stories that
Yeah.
expanded into novellas, and I took my time because they were for me. But right
Nice.
around the Immortal Protocols, like I could make these. I could finish them, have them all go through edits and stuff, and then just release them a month apart, so that with the link in the next one to the next one. So people wouldn't have to wait for the trilogy to come out, which is what a rapid release is, right? So they were
Yeah.
a month apart. I released them a month apart.
Yeah.
And I realized two things. I don't like that. Because I don't market enough between them to
Yeah.
right.
That's
So
one of those
that didn't
things.
work out quite the way I wanted. I think a month is too short. Possibly 3 months between them might have been better. Um, and then two, I realized that what I liked about it was that I could tell a much more cohesive story, right? Because I don't have to go back and be like, it's been 3 years since I wrote this novel, and go back into the world Bible and go, what was her name again and what happened? So it was a much more for me. The series was a much more cohesive series because I wrote it all at once.
I can relate to
Yeah.
that. I'm experiencing that myself, trying to finish my trilogy and having, like I said, I'm like the Olympics. I publish every 4 years, so It's really going back is difficult sometimes because one, you're a better writer now than you
Mm-hmm.
were then, and
Mm-hmm.
two, you know, yeah, remembering all the little nuances and all the little Easter eggs that you even created for just your own amusement,
Right.
you know.
And that's what
So
happened,
I
right?
can
Because
totally,
they were short stories. And I was like, God, somebody published this? What? So, because I'm a much different writer than I was when they were short stories. I was like, someone published this? Oh God. Um, but the expanding them into novellas was something I wanted to see if I could do. Because some short stories, that's what they are. They're just short
mhm,
stories. They don't want to be anything else. And there's no potential for them to be anything more. It's like, this is, we end right here, Nicole, we're done. Right. And so it was interesting to see which of those stories could I even expand um,
yeah,
to be more. So,
yeah. So this past weekend we hung out and got to see each other at Con Carolinas, which
yeah.
you were there for, and something really amazing happened to you at Con Carolinas. We heard that something about an award that Nicole may have won at Con Carolina. That was a
I
really,
did.
really cool moment, by the way. But tell everybody a little bit about that.
Oh, so I was awarded the Chris Shrewsbury Legacy Award, and it's an award given to someone who's contributed to the community, right, for fandom and overall geekery. I don't know how, but they thought
Uh,
I fit that bill this year, so and I am
well,
very humbled by that award.
I think everybody who knows you knows how because you're a special person,
Thank
Miss
you.
Skirts. I think you are you're one of my favorite people to talk to in the world, and I think you're super talented, uber talented, and what you do for community and diversity and putting things out there, I think it's really it's you're doing God's work, really,
Oh,
out there.
thank you.
You know,
I think it's
and
just what I like to see, and what I said at Con Carolinas as well is I like seeing little black girls get excited about sci-fi books that show them, or when
absolutely,
people come by my table and go, "Oh, her afro is so large." Yes, and she has a very long sword. I mean,
that's
it's those type of things that for me make it. Not that I'm not appreciative of the award, I am. But when I am at a convention or at a Comic Con and someone stops at my table and their eyes are like saucers because finally there's a science fiction book that looks like them, or there's a horror book with a cover that looks like them, or it includes a story where the protagonist has a husband and he's a man. Because and it's a healthy relationship and it's not about them coming out and it's just a normal part of life in the district.
yep, that's all.
um these are the reasons why I publish. I run a publishing company. These are the reasons why I write. And so, because I didn't have that and I wanted it so badly. Um, and I often think about what kind of person I would have been had I had those.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I do it. I
Mm.
wish it paid better, but I'm a former teacher. I get look the pay thing.
Yeah,
I understand.
it sounds like the real riches are the rewards you get from other people, so that's really nice.
Right. The payment is in other ways.
Yeah, I mean, hey, love is just as good as currency as anything else, right? So,
Mhm. It is. It is. Yes, Vanessa, thank you. I
yeah.
am a winner.
So thank you for being here and doing this for me and with me and talking about your track in multiverse. I'm sure if there's any science fiction folks out there who haven't committed to multiverse yet, what are you waiting for? Because
Come see us. It's so
yeah,
fun.
as so aptly put here, we are lucky to have you on the team, Nicole. So I think that is so apt and so right.
Thank you.
And yeah, I'm gonna get over to the alien autopsy and check it out, and I'm gonna try. I mean, the thing about that's the one aspect of multiverse that is interesting to me, because like last year, the Monster Mash and Storytime, which I had to go
Yeah,
to, because if I didn't go to, Vanessa was going to hurt me, and so I needed to go to that. So
you
I
did.
yeah,
You totally needed to go to those.
yeah. So I was going back and forth between the two. So, and that's usually when alien autopsies and the other things happen. So it's kind of like, that's the one thing. So, but that's a great thing about coming back, right? You get to experience the things you didn't experience the last time,
Yes.
right? So
And I
that's
think
that.
I moved it so that we weren't in the same time
Well,
slot as the Monster
mhm.
Mash because that's a party.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
It's very loud. So I think and it's so much fun. I would actually like to go myself. So, um, yep, good time. It's not that scary. It's a good time.
She's saying she's not that scary. It's true.
She's
You're not that
not.
scary. No,
We
no.
love you,
Vanessa's
Vanessa.
awesome. I would scale the earth for Vanessa for sure, as I would for you, Nicole, because I've
Oh,
really
thank
enjoyed
you,
our
Joe.
and hanging out with you and talking to you, and I look forward to seeing you in October and hanging out some more and talking to
Oh
you
yeah, we're gonna have a great
and
time. It's gonna be a good time.
so tell everybody where they can get these wonderful books that you've just been talking about, because I think everybody should. I've just started reading the first one, and
Yeah,
is
glitches and stitches, right?
yeah, it's phenomenal. It is absolutely, like I told you at Con Carolinas, I'm hooked. I'm in. So
Oh, good, good.
so tell
You can
everybody.
find me at mochamemoirspress.com. You can find me at NicoleGivensKurtz.net. Of course, I'm on Twitter at Nicole G. Kurtz. And you can find me at Facebook under the same thing, Nicole G. Kurtz.
Well, thank you so much, Nicole, for being here, and I'll look forward to seeing you in October, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Joe. Thanks for coming, chat.
All right. So b- I'm wearing a specific T-shirt tonight for a specific reason. This is a T-shirt that uh, I earned with my hard work at the beginning of Multiverse last year. I was very happy to be a part of watching how it all came together in the dealer room, and so I was real excited that when I was offered this, because I cherish that and treasure that, and it was pretty awesome. But Multiverse is always looking for help and looking for people, and it's the volunteers that make the world go round. And it certainly is the case at Multiverse Con. And so today, here is reason 1007 to enjoy the multiverse. And now another reason. Oh, and now another reason why, among many, you should be attending Multiverse. Reason 1007. Become a volunteer. Volunteering offers a great way to see what goes on behind the scenes of a con, as well as make new friends and support the charitable efforts. On top of that, all volunteers who work at least 12 hours during or prior to Multiverse will receive a full 3-day membership, an exclusive Multiverse volunteer t-shirt, a collectible badge, and access to the volunteer-only party after the con shuts down. Multiverse could not exist without the dedicated help of the wonderful folks who volunteer their time and skills to make it all work. All people, interests, abilities, and skill levels are welcome. Applications are now open, so join us and become part of the team. We need you. Go to multiversecon.org and register to become a member of the Multiverse. Yeah, so if you weren't invited as a guest, or you haven't bought a ticket to Multiverse, this is a good way to experience Multiverse, and you get to experience it from the inside out, which I think is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity and a really great experience. And help us out, help Multiverse, run as smoothly as it runs, and do all the things that we've been gushing about week after week here. And we'll be back. Speaking of which, we will be back next week to gush some more and have some more guests to talk about the wonderfulness that is Multiverse Con. And we'll see you then, because remember that it's always time to go indie now. And with that, we'll say goodnight.